The exodus. A people leaving. When a government fails its people badly enough, people leave. And that is exactly what has happened in Iran. Over the past 2 decades, Iran has experienced one of the largest brain drains in the world. Educated young Iranians, doctors, engineers, scientists, artists, have been leaving in their hundreds of thousands. Some go to Europe, some to North America, some to Australia. They leave behind parents they may never see again. They leave behind a country they love, but cannot live in. They leave because the combination of economic collapse, political repression, and the crushing of individual freedom has made building a life inside Iran feel impossible. Inside Iran itself, many have been left behind, particularly women, ethnic minorities, and the poor who face discrimination, poverty, and the daily reality of living under a system that does not treat them as full human beings. The fifth paradox. Iran is a country of extraordinary culture, ancient history, highly educated people, and enormous natural wealth. It has some of the world's largest oil and gas reserves, and yet its people have been made poor by a government that prioritized ideological wars and nuclear ambitions over the daily needs of its own citizens. What ordinary Iranians feel about this war. This is perhaps the most complex and human part of the story. When the strikes of February 28th began, the reaction inside Iran was not simple. Some Iranians, particularly those who had suffered most under the government, quietly celebrated. They saw Khamenei's death as the possible beginning of a new era. They hoped that regime change might bring freedom, democracy, and economic recovery. Others were horrified, not because they loved the government, but because foreign bombs falling on Iranian soil, on Iranian cities, killing Iranian civilians, including children, felt like an attack on Iran itself, on their home, on their identity, on their dignity as a people. Both reactions are human. Both are understandable, and both deserve respect. The tragedy of this war, as with so many wars throughout history, is that the people who suffer most are the people who had the least power to prevent it. Section C. What comes next? 3 possible futures. Now let us look forward, because for a senior fountain of wisdom, viewer understanding what might come next is as important as understanding what has already happened. I want to be honest with you. No one, not the most experienced diplomat, not the most sophisticated intelligence agency, not the most informed economist, knows exactly how this will end. Anyone who claims certainty is not being honest with you. What we can do is look at 3 possible futures, based on history, research, and careful analysis. Future 1. The negotiated peace. Probability. Possible, but difficult. In this future, Pakistan's mediation succeeds. Iran and the United States reach an agreement. Not the full 15 points Washington demanded, and not the full 5 conditions Tehran stated, but something in between. A ceasefire is declared. The Strait of Hormuz reopens. Oil prices fall. The world breathes. What happens to Iran? A new government begins to form, perhaps one more moderate than Khamenei's, perhaps one more pragmatic. Sanctions are partially lifted. The Iranian economy begins a long, slow recovery. The Iranian people, exhausted by years of hardship, get at least the beginning of a better life. What happens to the world? Oil prices gradually return to more normal levels. Inflation eases. Central banks begin cutting interest rates. The global economy recovers, though the damage already done to supply chains, food security, and energy infrastructure will take years to fully repair. This is the most hopeful future, and history shows us it is possible. Even the bitterest enemies have made peace. Germany and France, the United States and Vietnam, Israel and Egypt. Peace between former enemies is not naive. It is the most common outcome of wars that neither side can fully win. Future 2. The frozen conflict. Probability. most likely. In this future, a ceasefire is eventually reached, but it solves nothing permanently. Iran retains a government, weakened but surviving. The nuclear program is damaged but not eliminated. The axis of resistance, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Iraqi militias, is reduced but not destroyed. The world settles into a new, unstable normal. Oil prices remain somewhat elevated, not at crisis levels, but higher than before February 28. Inflation remains stubborn. Interest rates stay higher for longer. The economic damage to ordinary people, particularly seniors on fixed incomes, continues for years. The Middle East enters a prolonged period of frozen conflict. Neither peace nor full war, but the constant threat of both. This is unfortunately the most common outcome of wars in this region. The Lebanese civil war lasted 15 years. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has lasted 75 years. Frozen conflicts have a painful tendency to persist. Future 3. Dangerous escalation. Probability, real but avoidable. In this future, diplomacy fails completely. The Strait of Hormuz remains closed. The Houthis block the Red Sea simultaneously. Oil surges past $150 per barrel. The global economy enters recession. Iran's government collapses into factional fighting, and no one is sure who controls the nuclear materials. This is the future that keeps every serious economist, diplomat, and military strategist awake at night. Not because it is inevitable. It is not, but because it is possible. And in a world where decisions are made under enormous pressure, in real time, by fallible human beings, the risk of miscalculation is always real. History gives us reason for both concern and hope. The Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962 came within hours of nuclear war. And then, through a combination of wisdom, luck, and genuine human courage on both sides, it ended peacefully. The world stepped back from the edge. The same is possible today, but it requires wisdom and courage, and the willingness to prioritize human lives over political pride. Section D. Senior Wisdom. Living through historic turning points. I want to close this extended section with something personal. Those of us who are seniors have lived through historic turning points before. We remember when it felt like the world might end, and then it did not. We remember recessions that felt permanent and then recovered. We remember political crises that seemed irresolvable and then were resolved. The Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Cold War, and the real fear of nuclear annihilation. The oil shocks of the 1970s, the Gulf War of 1990, the September 11th attacks and the wars that followed, the 2008 financial crisis, the COVID-19 pandemic. In every single one of these moments, there were people who said the world would never recover, that this time was different, that civilization itself was at risk. And in every single case, the world recovered. Not perfectly, not without scars, not without real and lasting damage to real human lives. But it recovered, because human beings, despite everything, are remarkably resilient, remarkably creative, remarkably capable of choosing life over death when given the chance. The wisdom of age. The most valuable thing a long life gives you is perspective. When you have seen the world survive what seemed unsurvivable, you stop being surprised by human resilience, and you stop being paralyzed by human cruelty. You hold both truths simultaneously. The world contains great darkness and great light, and the light has always outlasted the dark. So what does this mean for you right now, as you watch your grocery prices rise and your petrol costs increase, and your fixed income feel slightly less adequate than it did 3 months ago? It means this: you are not helpless. You are not at the mercy of forces you cannot understand. You now understand them. You know why the prices are rising. You know where the fire started. You know what the possible futures look like. Knowledge is not a small thing. Knowledge at any age is the beginning of power. The power to make informed decisions. The power to protect your family. The power to refuse to be panicked by headlines. Designed to frighten rather than inform. You have survived every economic difficulty that has come before. You will navigate this one too. Not because the world is fair. It is not always fair. Not because governments always make wise decisions. They do not always. But because you, the person watching this, have something that no government, no military commander, and no oil market can take from you. You have the wisdom of a life fully lived, and that in times like these is the most valuable thing in the world. Now we continue to part 4, where we bring all of this directly into your daily life. Your kitchen, your electricity bill, your petrol tank, and what you can practically do to protect yourself and your family during this uncertain time. Wikipedia, 2026 Iran War, 2025 to 2026. Iran-United States negotiations, nuclear program of Iran. Britannica, 2026 Iran War. Atlantic Council, 20 questions about the Iran War. American Jewish Committee. The Iran strikes explained. Union of Concerned Scientists. The U.S.-Israeli. History behind their war against Iran. UK House of Commons Library. U.S.-Israel-Iran conflict, 2026. UK House of Commons Library. What challenges face Iran in 2026?